Hello, everyone. My name is AP the Word One, and welcome back to episode 12 and also 13 of Full Metal Panic. Although, how I'm going to structure it is a little bit differently. I'm going to kind of do a normal episode review, tackle one episode, then it will be kind of cut away to the next episode, basically. So, at this moment, I have not watched the finale yet. Kind of shtick like that. And the reason I'm doing it this way is because episode 12 is a bit of a stinker. Now, it's kind of more of a basically info dump, and it in a bit like I mentioned with a previous episode. It's this is kind of the episodes that would work in sort of like a binge or possibly like a movie format. Not so much in an episode by episode. I don't know. That's kind of how I felt as we get Sosuke travel from point B to point A to point B, go meet with Garon, and then kind of near the end we have moment with Mithril, and then we kind of have Garwan's kind of last final wishes before things kicked off. I don't know. I was kind of born okay, does this really need to be like as long as it need to, or could this be like an extended episode, basically? So we'll get into it. At the beginning of the episode, when Sosuke does go around and basically look for Garon, I do appreciate that in the town of China or in the Hong Kong area, Muslims who come from Himedjistan actually remember who Kashim is. So that was kind of an interesting touch. This old man, oh yeah, I remember you, and you're just, why do you have alcohol in your breath and everything. It's an interesting touch. He remembers him vividly. Oh, I know exactly who you are. And then when he finally gets to Garon, we learn a bit of details. So Garon is basically nothing but basically a head and a torso due to the axe incident. Although one thing we do learn, and I think this is kind of important for later on, is that he does mention that the Lambda Drive can save its user in the even in the eventual destruction, self-destruction sequence. So that's kind of how he was able to survive. But he basically gives a lowdown of who Agamemnon is. They are a group that goals to research, develop the latest weapons, also use them, but also make the world at a constant state that they require them to use it. So the world is constantly burning. A perpetual chaos is what this organization likes to do. And you can see how they're essentially the villains. They're a being who wants to cause complete chaos. He talks about Leonard, who's kind of who's an upcoming member, who's rising star. He's the Whispered that they have. But we also learn a little bit about that each Whispered has different areas of expertise. Tessa being, submarine, casually mentions her and everything. And Chidori has her own specialty. Now, I do know why she's special in another way beyond being a simple Whispered, but essentially, it's an interesting notion that every Whispered has a different area's expertise, and that, gathering all of them would be very beneficial. But anyway, so these two have their conversation. Another thing that they mentioned, we get to see this a little bit. We see a beautiful shot of Gates and these other Venom-based ASs. I think they're autonomous. I'm not 100% sure, but I think when I was doing a little bit of research, maybe they were, or I know that they're the factory grade version. Not important, but this is a really good, really awesome shot. But during the conversation, after Garon is done with done talking about Agamemnon, he talks about his relationship with Kashim, how they met each other, back in Himedjistan, going over their history. When they first met, they weren't exactly allies, but they weren't exactly enemies. They were kind of neutral with each other. But when he saw him as a kid, he talked about how he's this pure nature, no conflict, no sadness. He was pure, like a saint, like an angel. But over time, he saw that back then, that's what he saw when he met him in Himedjistan. He liked that about him. And then when he saw him back in Kanaka or / North Korea, he saw those same eyes, those same beautiful eyes. But over time, he's changed into a more humanized person. Mithril and Kamen have destroyed him, basically. He's pissed off about that. He's very sad in this, which, fuck him anyway. But eventually it leads that you get kind of near the end of the conversation. It's like, oh yeah, I had this, the little sister, one of the sisters basically take her out. It's like, I really wanted to show you, but I'm in no position to do so. He doesn't believe it, and that's when he kind of basically, Sosuke just kills him outright, like just blows his head off. And then he doesn't blow his head off, but he just shoots him in the belly and finally puts an end to this bastard, like, finally. But the other highlight moment is Tessa has a good moment with Marmaduke aboard the Toothless Dan. Beautiful shot, but excellent conversation. Tessa has this. Tessa orders the Arbalest to get ready, be in the deck and ready to launch at a moment's notice. And Marmaduke kind of questions her orders, and she's like, "We can't rely on Sosuke and him, everything." I'm like, and I think you're blinded by these feelings for him. And Tessa says, like, yeah, I love him, but that's regardless of fact. She's on Sosuke's side, essentially. It's a beautiful conversation, but like says, we've thrown Sosuke at so much. We've given, forced him to vote Kamina, be in school, forced him to use a machine that he knows nothing about, that's outside his wheelhouse. She mentions the Megistan getting the nuclear missile from season 1. Like, it culminates all the experiences. And it's like, and being as a kid, he is like, yeah, she never outside says it, but like, yeah, he broke down. Like, this is to kind of be expected. She doesn't know that he's still on his mission, whatever. She trusts him that he is going to fall through and come back to the group. And I really love that shot. And then followed by that one, she has open communication to basically tell the members of the SRT team, don't die on me, like, come home safely. And all of them kind of a little joking. I'm like, oh man, the commander, like, is really happy for us and everything. It's a good moment. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Norman Gone, which I guess has a little bit of relevancy too with Agamemnon. But like, yeah, the little commander like cares about us. Like, I think it kind of reminded me of in Norman Gone, where she says she lets her team members like go let loose, happy hunting, and the guys are all like, oh, she's giving us the green light to be absolute monsters. Like, our boss really loves us. That kind of moment, I found really appreciative. But so we have they have that moment that kind of reminded me a little bit of that, but. And then following that scene is when basically Garwan kicks the bucket, and then everything starts to go into action. So overall, it's just an info dump, and it just kind of a little bit of a bore for me. Not to say that it's necessarily a overall bad episode. I'm like, okay, in a binge watch, this is great. Week by week, I would probably be very annoyed. I think what kind of annoys me is the episode should kind of. Let me try to think. Like, it's not like a standout moment. Like, it's like in purest nature, like, oh, you can watch this on its own and be like super. Where most of them like, oh, this is just a part of thing. It's a part one sort of stick. It just, I don't know. It irritates me in that regards. But with that, I'll see you guys in just a quick sec for the finale, or kind of pseudo finale anyway, and how I structure it. Anyway, all right, I am back. It's time to review the continuing day by day episode 13. Now, sometimes the Almighty Father gives us the perfect anime episode. And this episode is one of those scenarios. Now, before I begin my little review of this perfect episode, I think I was a little bit harsh on the previous episode. I also made a little mistake that when Sosuke gets confronted by Garwan saying that he's killed Kamina, he is in denial about it. He after this, in the beginning of episode 13, he's full on believing that she is dead. And that's kind of basically what it starts off with. I mean, he's a broken person. The SRT members have come to say, hey, come on, let's get back to the mission. But he just doesn't want to. They're about ready to shoot him. Hell, even the Arbalest appearing still doesn't do anything for him. However, in these perfect moments, Kamina comes right and saves him. She gives him this pep talk. And at first when you see her, you're kind of thinking it's the... I think both Sosuke and I think the audience, are kind of led to believe this is that prostitute girl from a couple episodes ago, from episode 11. But no, it's her. And she just lays into him, like just beats him, and like it's like she's all mad at him. She tries to confess, but of course, she's being a tsundere. She can't do that. It's a really good moment. Fantastic, fantastic. And it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's necessary for it to happen. But after she beats him up, she asks him, what's the matter, essentially. She asks him, are you, where's your strength? Have you thrown, do you feel like are you saying you feel like throwing everything away? And he's like, no. And she's like, I know where you're coming from. She gets down with him and she says, you're worn out. You're strong work ethic, but you're weak in the mind. And she points out all these different flaws. You just couldn't say anything because this is how you're wired. You can do the job, but you don't know how to exactly best express yourself. And she lists all flaws, but at the end of the day, you are a good person. You're strong. You're kind. You're just imperfect. And he kind of recalls what Garwin is saying, the weak thrive off the strong. And Garwin was referring him to being the strong, but in this kind of moment, I believe he's interpreting himself as being the weak one. He's the weakling. He's this amazing person, but downright to it, he just doesn't know how to best express himself. He doesn't have that kind of mindset. He doesn't know how to best express himself. So, because you don't know how to express yourself, you could just end up destroying yourself in the very end, not telling people how you really feel. So, in the end, he is ultimately a weak person because he lacks the ability to be a proper human. But we have this moment. It's very good. When the sunset, during the episode, the sunset goes from nighttime to daylight, and he's trying to get out of the situation, but Communist Max, no, you're gonna get in this machine. You're gonna help out your foes. But from that beautiful scene, we get the next beautiful scene. Gates confronts Yu-Fan. He holds up her little sister Yulan and starts playing with him, and he starts antagonizing Yu-Fan. And it is so beautiful. It is an excellent moment. Just breaking her down, and then eventually causing her to just fuck up and go for the kill, and then Gates destroys him. Excellent moment. So wonderful. And in the moment, Clouseau is on the ground. Yu-Fan has kind of defeated him, kind of broken him because she has access to Lambda Drive, and he's about to finish him off. But then Sosuke comes in the clutch, and he does a battle with Gates and his 4 associates who are humans who have access to the Lambda Drive. I thought they were automatic machines, but I think that differently now, given the fight. But it's a beautiful fight between all 6 of them. Just the utter takedown. Sasuke be able to use the Lambda Drive perfectly. And of course, at the very end, after Gates' men have been wiped out and he's the only one left, he panics. He's a coward. He tries to use Clouseau as a shield, but Sasuke's like, "Nuh-uh. I'm gonna break you. It's time for the killing blow." And he goes straight at him, and Gates doesn't know how to deal with this guy. This is this man who believes in himself. He believes in his machine, and it goes for the ultimate punch. Basically, he kind of does the thing that Clouseau did with him a couple episodes ago, like the hidden fist technique. But he's able to transfer the Lambda Drive to just pierce right through Clouseau and destroy Gates. And he kind of takes it like a man, like the last thing his father, oh, my hairs are just a little too short. And so he takes his death like a man. He's like, all right, whatever, I'm dead. But just excellent moment. And then of course, right after we just get another one. He's about to ready to go back to Toothless Dan. He's like, no, I'm gonna go into my next mission. I gotta go to it's not Communist waiting for me. So he gets out of the machine and goes and leaves for her. He's gotta be with this woman, of course. Now, of course, he's not gone forever. We'll see a little bit later, but it's a good moment. It's like I said, near perfect. I think that the one complaint I might have is it goes a little bit long at the end, and I think Clouseau could have given a little bit better performance with his machine, right before Gates makes appearance. But other than that, it is a 10 out of 10 episode in my opinion. But we do finally get to see Wraith in its scene, it is more of a female. We'll talk about the light novel in just a sec. We'll get to that and just to get that there. But it kind of like, she's the one who made it happen. It kind of looks like she has a flat butt from behind, so doesn't have a very big butt. Kind of disappointing. She looks like a beautiful woman, but she's there. She's to put everything together and puts everything together. And kind of Hunter, this guy, he's like, he understands where Sosuke's coming from. The next good part. Sosuke confronts the generals of Mithril, and he basically tells them everything on his thought. Like, listen, I'm just a mercenary. I'm not, I didn't sell my soul to Mithril. And, for the people, save your speech for whatever to those who you consider pet dogs. Just kind of lays out. And he's like, I'm willing to leave the organization, pay the penalty. I'll even work for half pay, which that's what they ultimately agree upon. But basically his mission is, I'm going to pilot the Obelisk and I'm going to protect Chidori. That's how it's going to be. Understand? And then Lord Mallory, he's like, he's won. We got him for half pay. This is the best outcome. So he has got a good character stand-up moment. Now, unfortunately, Sosuke is going to go back to his normal moments with the next scene. The very adorable scene. So, after everyone leaves, it's just Tessa and Sosuke. Tessa is like, she decides to be very forward with them. Like, hey, I'm sorry for everything that's happened. Can we still be friends? And they get out of this build up, like Sosuke's going to yell at her and everything. And he's like, you consider us friends, right? Of course. Well, can I be honest with you? And he basically tells her, like, you're this amazing woman. You're super special. You're beyond, you mean more than a friend. Like, if you ever need anything, I'll be there for you. But of course, Sosuke just snaps. Like this is just so out of character. He's basically giving a love confession to her. And he says, I'm sorry, I'm too forward, and just runs off. I think which is a good moment because he is forward with her, but he respects her as a captain. So doing this is like he respects her too much. So it's just way too much for him, and he goes off. It's so good. And then of course Tessa acts like an absolute in love bimbo. Like, oh, he called me Tessa, and just having this little high school girl moment, and then of course she falls over. It's just such an adorable moment. I'm like, the anime really captures Tessa's personality excellently. Like the voice actress and everything is so perfect. That's what I gotta say I love about the anime the most. But season 1, season 2, they capture Tessa really well, and then the moments just that dorky moment is so good. But and then of course we a little bit of the final scenes. He's back at Chidori High School. Wraith decides to play a little fun with them, and it ends on a little happy ending. It's a little bit longer than normal episode, which is perfect. There's so many good moments. It's just bang, 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 bang. The end a little, maybe could have wrapped up a little sooner, but it's still overall, like I said, 10/10 episode. I don't know what necessarily my favorite part is. I think the Gates moment, like when Gates makes an appearance and then and then the battle is probably my favorite, just that sequence and events. But I also love the Tessa and Sosuke moment. It's so adorable and perfect just to have their funny moments. Now, let's move on to the light novel. So I've read the light novel in the past, but I'm not sure how it is. And I'm going to wait to do the chapter, volume 5 after we do the OVA episodes that follows this. It's part, there's a short story that involves with it, and we need a little bit more Tessa. I really do want to get back to the light novel, but just give me one more Tessa episode. She's my favorite character in this. I need an entire episode dedicated to her. But with that, I'll see you guys next time. On Wednesday, we'll be doing the OVA episode, and maybe Friday we'll get to the light novel. We'll see how things play out. But hopefully you have a wonderful day. I'm glad you stuck in with this entire, long part, the semifinale and the finale. I probably should have separated, but I don't know. I just had to get to the finale. The semifinale was just a little lackluster, and then I didn't realize that the finale was going to be so damn good. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, hype it if you can. Have a great Monday.